Hello, welcome to Cooking with Gina. My name is Gina Virginia Casella. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube at Gina Virginia Casella, and I'd love for you to join my Facebook group, Present Moment Alchemy. So what am I cooking today? I don't know. I think I'm going to make a soup, and then I'd like to experiment with the Bisquick as far as baking it. So I'm excited to see how it goes. So I'm just kind of standing here looking around. What am I going to do? And today's one of those laundry kind of days. So I'm wrapping up book 5 today, if not by today, by tomorrow morning. So I was working on book 5 consistently up until it's time to do Cooking with Gina. I dyed my hair the other day, so I haven't been washing it, but I need to wash it now. I'm wondering if you can relate. When I'm cooking, I like to have a drink on the go. Sometimes it's wine, sometimes it's just my water tea mixture. And today I'm having a hot cup of tea. I'm drinking pure chamomile. It's the Twinings name brand. I really like this name brand. And for a milk, I'm using the Almond Breeze unsweetened vanilla. I really like this in my coffee. And I haven't had it in tea yet. I like my tea with cream in it, but I just kind of flip-flopping my routine right now. So it's nice with this in it. And even though it's like made with almonds, it doesn't taste like almonds at all. And it's a nice complement to the tea. I'm wondering if you can relate. Let me know in the comments. So if you've been tuning in with Cooking with Gina, we got a new fridge, and what happened was we stocked up on groceries, but we didn't realize the fridge was too cold. So a lot of the fresh produce turned icy. We've had to garbage some of it. So now I'm just like, okay, well, what can I do here? So I thought I'd make a soup, and I'd like it to be a thin soup. So something that I've used only once in my life was a vegetable broth. In the past, I've used the bouillon cubes, typically beef and chicken, or the veggie type, but usually it was the chicken when I was eating animals and animal byproducts. And it's just kind of weird because I would boil bones, or I would take vegetable ends and keep them in the freezer, let them pile up, and then I would make my own broth. And so it's just kind of weird buying it in a box, but that's okay. It's okay. I'm wondering if you can relate in the comments. Homemade is best made. It's nice to cheat every now and then, and I don't really see it as cheating because our ways of knowing are evolving as we're evolving consciously. And something that I would like to shift in my own life is living a lifestyle where I have the time to cook, where I have the time to make broths. So moving into the vegan ways of knowing, I'm really excited to get my own place with Rosie, our condo by the beach, and really looking forward to having a kitchen and just really dreaming away about like where the cupboard might be and having a double sink. And I really like cast iron, but also having some stainless steel available. And with those hopes and dreams also comes with me having a freezer. And I used to have a deep freeze, and I'd keep all kinds of pies and stuff in there. But I really like limiting what's in the freezer. And so I think just having like a freezer that comes with the fridge is going to be good enough. And I'm excited, and then things like ice cream. When I was still living in BC, I was starting to live this lifestyle, and ice cream just takes up way too much room in the freezer. And so I would just treat myself to having ice cream takeout on those days, and so anyways, I guess I'm feeling like hopes and dreams are on my mind because that's what book 5 is all about. In fact, that's what the whole Dragon Dream series is about. Is reflecting on hopes and dreams, going through my spiritual awakening, keeping it real, keeping it raw, really honoring my feelings. And it's just really amazing. So anyways, I'm going to get back to cooking here. So what am I doing? I don't know. I'm going to pour this whole vegetable broth. It's by JC, by the way, organics vegetable broth. This is the second time I use it. The first time I used it, I was at my sister's, and I actually made a soup using one of her spiced teas. When I was drinking it, I thought this might make a good soup, and so there wasn't enough, and then I added vegetable broth to it, and it was really good, actually. I don't remember the name of the spiced tea, but I just thought that was interesting. So I've got vegetable broth in here. I've got celery. Celery is always great for soup. I'm just going to chop up the whole thing. I've also got a tomato. I'm going to put that in the soup. I got this little bit of tomato. That's going to go in there. The rest of this onion's going to go in there. And I've also got a can of tomato paste to help flavor it. And I've also got more onions. I feel like when it comes to soup, you just can't have enough onions. And then I found some potatoes that are starting to essentially be ripe and ready to eat. So I'm going to chop up those really small and put them in the soup. I like putting potatoes in the soup. I'm not putting any rice or noodles because if there's leftover soup, then I could make rice tomorrow or something like that instead. This cauliflower, it's got some mold on it, so I'm probably going to use all of the cauliflower in my soup. And I also found some cream corn, some corn niblets. It's not peaches and cream, but whatever, it's corn niblets. And I also have the dark kidney beans. And so I'm still figuring it out. But I think the dark kidney beans are going to get mashed and mixed with the Bisquick. And I also think I'm going to add this cream of corn with my Bisquick mixture. I may add a little bit into my soup. I don't know. And I think it'd be nice to put some onions in there as well. What are you thinking? As I channel the MacGyver ways of knowing in the kitchen. And I'm looking forward to this. And I'm also going to be filling my pot up with water. So I'm just rinsing this little carton out, pouring water in there. And I will add more water, but before I do, I'm going to add the other vegetables before I find it overflowing. I'm just noticing this onion is a white onion. I thought it was one of these yellow onions that just was peeled, but anyways, I thought that was exciting to share. But the point is, the white onions aren't as intense when it comes to flavor, so I'm going to intentionally save this white onion for my Bisquick mixture. So just getting myself set up. I got another bowl here just to put my parts of the plants that I'm not using. And I don't know about you, but I do well in small spaces. But at the same time, when I just need to get things done, I need a lot of space. And so in this moment, I don't want to fuck around because I find that it actually ends up taking longer for me to do things. Like I can't make noise, so I'm going to be making noise, if you will. And I'm going to just put this on the stove. And as I'm chopping, I'm going to put what I don't need in here. Now, if I was actually making a vegetable broth, then I would keep all the discarded parts, boil the hell out of it, and then that would be my vegetable broth. But this cauliflower, it has a bit of mold on it, so I'm going to be cutting those pieces off. It's one thing to have vegetables that are ripe to make a broth, but you don't want to make a broth out of vegetables that are going bad, you know. At least you want to be mindful about parts that you're using. Food appreciation, I just, don't want to discard the whole cauliflower. And anyways, I'm going to get busy chopping away. Ideally, this would be perfect to keep the end of the celery for a vegetable broth. I'm not going to. And the last time I made a vegetable broth, it tasted like pesticide. And I'm just remembering now, like, that's why I haven't made a homemade broth in a while, because I went through a little phase. It happens every now and then, but this phase in particular, it seemed like it was happening all of the time, where my carrots and potatoes, my apples constantly tasted like pesticide. And then when I was putting the vegetables in my freezer, that pesticide flavor was in there. Now, was it in my head? I don't think so, because like I said, when I made my broth, I wasn't even thinking about that, and I could taste the pesticide. So anyways, I'm wondering if you can relate. That's what cooking with Gina is all about. So somebody was asking me the other day, like, why did you even start cooking with Gina? And I thought, that's a good question. And they were asking me, like, why are you transitioning into vegan? And for what it's worth, October 5th, 2021, that's the timestamp, I had a severe panic attack unexpectedly, and I'm quite blessed with my health. But to make a very long story short, and you can read about it all in my Dragon Dreams book series, that's on Amazon.ca under my name, Gina Virginia Casella, or just search Dragon Dreams on Amazon.ca. But anyways, it really changed my life. And I had a really hard time with meat. Like, I would be eating it, and all of a sudden I would just be overwhelmed and grossed out. And even if I was eating a veggie burger or a vegan burger that had no meat in it, all of a sudden it would just dawn on me that it was meat, and I would be grossed out. And I had to self-coach and tell myself, there's no meat in this. Why are you grossed out? But something was going on, My stomach, when it came to red meat in particular, it just seemed like it was hard on my stomach. So I stopped eating, the steaks, and I went for the pork chops instead. I found that food that I really love, like cookies and chips, especially chips, nachos, those textures, it's hard to explain, but like eating them, it was like a brittle feeling on my teeth. Things like just, salt on chips, it was like too much for me. I love Moscato. I like the dessert sweet wines, but I like just drinking the Moscato wine. And I found even wine all of a sudden was like way too sweet for me. And one time I was at a friend's house, and I brought some wine with some nuts and apples, and I couldn't even like drink the wine just because the way it felt on my teeth. And the apples, I mean, apples are sweet, all fruit is, but it was just really bizarre, the sweetness in my mouth. And so I was forced to change my eating habits. And then I would have days where it was like I couldn't pound down enough sweets. I couldn't pound down enough, meat, for example. But then after doing that, I would just feel really gross and bloated. So it's been a process. My sister is vegan, and she's been vegan for, I don't know, like a good 10 plus years now. So it's just part of her lifestyle, something that she's used to. And she's not like me in the sense of getting it together in the kitchen in terms of cooking. So when I was living with her, basically I was starving. I just, she had food to eat, but I really didn't like the way it was prepared or the way it tasted. And food appreciation, I ate it anyways. But I just, like, food is one of those simple joys, and I was not enjoying food. And I needed to eat. And so she worked during the day. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the grocery store. And I went twice. And each time I dropped $300. So it was like $600 altogether. And again, she had food. It was just, it wasn't like working out for me. So I bought, like, the Barilla pasta noodles, which I never tried before. Those were vegan. And then I bought just other things, like all kinds of nuts and seeds, dried fruits, just things that I knew that I would like, and I didn't know what I was going to make. One thing my sister had was an abundance of lentils, snap peas, yellow snap peas, green snap peas, which I had zero experience with. And I thought, you know what, I could make this work, and created like really delicious meals. And I said to her, cooking is so easy for me and it brings me so much joy. And she was highlighting these restaurants that are vegan, and they have things like mock Big Macs and whatnot. And just over the course of her own journey, especially with birthday cakes are really important to my sister. And she just gets like one disgusting cake after another. And why, how are people even making money off of this? And so eventually, she was able to figure out some places, which I would like to go to. I'm just noticing as I cut this that some of it is like frozen, just like it's see-through because it was because the fridge situation. But anyways, I was like, you know what? Like, I made my own version of a mock Big Mac. And it wasn't a Big Mac by any means, but it was just that sauce, if you will, that I felt was really tasty. And I thought, I'm going to make a cookbook out of this, and I'll just take pictures. And then I thought, well, why don't I record myself? Because simultaneously, I also wanted to make videos. I was creating a program for clients, the Transformational Intensive Beauty Prayer Program, which right now is on the back burner. But at that time, it was very much on the forefront. And I thought, I want to give something free, and I also want to talk with clients. I wanted to meet with them weekly. And I thought, well, how are you making changes in your life? What are the synchronicities? And I thought, why don't I share my own food journey? And so Cooking with Gina just became this thing of me hanging out at home, making dishes like I do, but having an emphasis on the vegan theme, showing up, whether I have messy hair, messy makeup, whether I'm on the tired side, and being brutally honest about what's tasting good and what's not tasting good. And also just my own journey of food appreciation, and my returning to my own ways of knowing, because I was in survival mode. I was part of that rat race, if you will. I never want to go back to that life again. And if you read the Dragon Dream series, you can discover all kinds of reasons why. But one of the reasons is I don't think the child within me will let me go back to that rat race, that manufactured life. And ever since I was a child, I always really enjoyed cooking. Another reason why I'm becoming vegan is because throughout my spiritual awakening, and you can read about it in Dragon Dreams, but essentially, people, the Homo sapiens sapiens, we are very much on the menu. And I laugh because it's awkward, not because it's funny. We are on the menu. And that freaked me out. And at first I thought, you know what? If there's like ETs that are here, and arguably we're those ETs more advanced, and arguably we're also not those ETs. Again, you can read about it in Dragon Dreams, but like, if there's ETs coming here and they're wild, it's nothing personal to us. They don't understand Homo sapiens sapien versus a rabbit versus a bear. They see us as a meat and food source. And why? Because they're in survival, so they eat us. Okay. But there's ETs coming here who they don't have to eat us, and yet they are. And they'll ask when they get here, is it okay if we eat the Homo sapiens sapiens? Because some places it's not okay, and other places it is okay. And so I thought, well, at least they're asking. But then there's the ETs that really don't give a fuck. They're not in survival mode. They don't have to consume meat, and yet they continue to do so. And I thought, wow, that's quite the projection and reflection that I need to internalize. And so going back to when I first had my severe panic attack, it was the age 7 Gina, the dragon within, if you will, that was holding me down and saying, no, like we're on strike, so to speak. You're not going back to that rat race. And this was all part of my spiritual awakening, was moving away from the carnivorous ways of knowing. And I wouldn't really make these connections until now because I had severe brain fog. And, as much as I wanted to wrap up book 5, 6, and 7 back in the summertime, I realized now that I needed to read these pages now. And so it was reinforcing, trusting in the timing. But for what it's worth, why am I consuming meat? I don't have to. Why am I consuming any animal product? I don't have to. There's plenty of vegan options out there, plenty of stuff. So I have this attitude, if you will, with the ETs that are consciously aware and yet just disregarding our lives and eating us. And, people used to be teased and even murdered for saying such things. Why? Because it's scary, and also because it's part of our full disclosure. It's freaky. And so, so I think I mentioned it on, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 cooking with Gina's ago, that when I eat meat and use meat products, animal products, even if it's jewelry or leather, that ultimately I'm sending a message to the universe that I'm in survival mode. And so that message is received, and therefore I'll stay in survival mode. So I have this attitude where it's like, no, 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 I am in thriving mode. I'm thriving. And so the intention is that the universe will project and reflect that back to me. And there you go. So there's a lot of reasons why I'm doing cooking with Gina, but the main reason is to thrive as a community, because we are the gods that we've been waiting for, and we can take charge of our lives. And this is just one of many, many ways. And I can't carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. I can't solve all the world's problems. So doing cooking with Gina, this is my focus. Writing stories, that's my focus. And honestly, I don't think age 7 Gina is going to let me do anything otherwise. And age 4 Gina is constantly hoarding. And it's based on fear and scarcity mindset. So I think they looked into the future and they saw me and they were like, no, we're not going to grow up and become like that. We're making changes now. And so it's like all the fragments and all the various dimensions are coming together. It's like each dimension has a flashlight and they're all pointing it at me now, at least the ones who are consciously aware. And what's really special is I wasn't aware of them. They were aware of me. And it wasn't until I had the severe panic attack that I was able to make all those connections. That's why I had the severe panic attack. I was really upset because, like I said, I've never had health issues and I've always had really phenomenal energy. And even now it's a struggle 3 years later. And that's all part of the sharing and the story medicine. So the idea of oneness, and awakening and what that really means. And I'm interested in what you have to say. This Cooking with Gina, this isn't intended to be some like, Food Network show or whatever. This is just me being authentic and connecting with Soul Tribe and role modeling to clients and prospective clients that you can make change, but you need to be proactive. Things don't just magically happen. And when it comes to severe anxiety, severe depression, I have a lot to say about that, but you can just read about it in Dragon Dreams. But a really powerful message is I'm really thankful for depression. I'm really thankful for anxiety. They need to be balanced, yes. But if it wasn't for that severe panic attack, I would have just gone back to that lifestyle and I wouldn't have been able to make the changes in my life. And so as I reread my dream journal, it's very clear that all of this is coming together. It always was coming together. I just didn't see it. And it's really special. And I'm wondering how you can relate. I really would love to hear how you relate. And I'm going to officially finish chopping up this cauliflower. So I was just thinking if this cauliflower was in better condition, this would be ideal to put in my soup just to boil water to make a vegetable broth, or I could even just leave big chunks like this in my soup and then just fish them out at the end. But given the fact that they're on the icy side because the fridge was too cold and some of the mold, this is all I'm left with. And it's going to be worth it. It's going to make my soup tasty. Okay, so I'm going to chop up my cauliflower. So I'm just chopping away here. And as I chop away, ideally, there would be a nice little piece of broccoli, or cauliflower, kind of like this. That I just went to town chopping and chopping. So it's all different sizes. And really, I just want to make sure that those bigger pieces are chopped down, if you will. And I'm going to add this to my broth, which I'm noticing you can't see, but that's okay. You'll have to trust me, it's going into the pot. And I just gave the floor a little sweep, but I'm going to have to sweep it again. This cauliflower gets everywhere. So I'm just going to tidy up my cauliflower and I'll be right back. And there's the soup. My tea is at the perfect temperature right now. Typically when it's at that perfect temperature, I just gulp it right down. So all of these vegetables that I'm adding to my soup, they're on the hard side. So I need to make sure that they get in there and they start softening and doing their magic. I'm just going to chop up the celery and get some more hot water in here. So I just added more hot water. We have a tap that boiling hot water comes right out of it. But I'm not going to add any more cream just because I want to get on with my life here making this soup. Folks that I'm with, they have a garburator, and so all of the pieces of vegetables and whatnot can just go right down the sink. It makes a lot of noise because it's basically like a shredder, but you have to be careful with it. You just take a wooden spoon and turn the water on and it shreds and does its thing, and magically there goes all of the vegetable waste, right? But I find it takes a lot of water to do that. And for us right now, it's better to do that than put it in the garbage can. We don't have a compost at this time. And I'm wondering, what do you do with your vegetable waste? And if you can relate with the garburator realities, sometimes too, even though you run the water and whatnot, things get stuck in there and then it just stinks. So, like 20 years ago, at least in the life and times of me and my family, carburetors were like this big thing. But I don't think it's something that I'm gonna want when I get my condo. Let me know how you relate. I changed knives. That other knife was doing the trick, but I really like this one. It's important to have tools that you're compatible with. Do you have a favorite knife or a go-to spoon? Let me know in the comments. So I got my celery chopped here. It's been about 3 weeks now that I've been doing cooking with Gina. The videos are piling up. Yesterday I was going through them and just watching them. Every time I publish one, I watch it just to make sure that you can hear me. The one with KFC, you can't hear me at all. But that's okay. I still kept it because people can see the food and what it looks like. But I was also just thinking that when it comes to anything, even like making a soup or a video, that there's a lot of power in reflection. And I don't know, I really like the videos cooking with Gina because they're just me being my authentic self. I was feeling insecure about them. I have these olives out because I was thinking about that relish that I made with the pickles and olives. And I don't know, I may or may not do something with these. I just thought I'll keep them out for now. Now I'm going to chop up the onion. It smells phenomenal. Okay, so I've got my onion chopped up. 2 onions are going in there. Like I said earlier, I don't think you can have enough onion in your soups or sauces. There's so much flavor that comes from them. And I also heard the washing machine make a beep. So I'm going to put my stuff in the dryer and get another load in. Okay, I'm back. So now I'm just chopping the tomatoes here. You know, I was just thinking as I chop these, a lot of people, they keep the tomato whole or they'll just chop it in half and then they'll fish it out when the soup's ready. But I just like to mix it all in. I don't know, like I don't really care if I get a little piece of tomato on my spoon. Some people, they like the, you know, what the tomato brings, the savory taste to the soup, but they don't actually want it as a vegetable in the soup. So I get that. And I was wondering about you. Let me know in the comments. So yeah, ET are eating the Homo sapien sapien. And, you know, part of full disclosure is that it's a full disclosure. It's not a part disclosure. And so one of the problems is that, like, you know, people have been locked up and put on medication and told things like they're crazy, and they've even committed suicide because they're telling these stories that they believe are true. And then for all these years to pass by, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, it is true. Like, that's a very big problem. That means a lot of people experienced a lot of things that they didn't have to experience, aside from the fact that truth was denied. And so there's a need to call a truce, if you will. Like, we can't point fingers and blame people. And anyways, I stay out of the politics because that's not my role. But my role is to listen to stories and to be that bridge, that level of comfort. Folks have been telling me things my whole life. You know, we tend to put all the vampires in one category, but I feel like vampires is an easy way to talk about folks who eat other people, whether it's like, you know, through the vampire's teeth, poking holes on the side of your neck, or whether it's energy vampires. We're vampires. You know, we all come from the dark. We're daywalkers. You know, a long time ago, there was nothing but darkness. We tend to think of the dark as a scary place, but really the darkness is a very safe place for us to be. It's the primordial womb and tomb. But when duality set in, things became uncomfortable. And so we had to come out of the dark into the light. And I find that interesting. Like, when we die, why would we return to the light? We come from the dark. So in Dragon Dreams, I talk about stuff like that in book 5 specifically. And book 5 is almost, it's almost like 500 pages now. Every time I think I'm wrapping it up, I get like more downloads, if you will. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to make book 5 into 2 books. It's too long. But my spirit guides, if you will, they told me, you know, like, I'm the kind of person that I don't really like. I mean, everybody likes to get a deal and to have sales and that kind of stuff. But for me, like, it's not fun, if you will, like it is for other consumers. And so my soul tribe is probably like that too. And so instead of having, you know, another book, why don't I just keep this one big? And some books will be smaller, some will be bigger, but they're all priced the same. And so you can think of it as a 2-in-1 if that does appeal to you, like a 2-for-1 deal. I almost was going to call book 5 book 5, and then the next one book 5.5. And then I just decided to leave it big. And I'm wondering if there's any writers out there who can relate. And I'm really excited to release my book. I was initially terrified to, mostly because of judgment, but I'm excited. Okay, so now I'm chopping up the potatoes. There's 2 different kinds here. That's okay. Part of me wants to save these ones to make like a side of fries on the side, French fries, or just slice them up and enjoy them as they are. Potatoes like this are great, especially when they're ripe like this, to shred and make homemade hash browns. I've always had a hard time keeping the hash browns together unless I make like a burger hash brown, if you will. But it's nice just to have shredded potatoes, and then they kind of stick together on their own. So I'm wondering how you can relate. I'm going to chop these up fairly small. And as you can see, my bowl's getting full. I like my soups on the thin side. Last time I made that corn soup, it ended up being a bit thick. So we'll see how this reality unfolds here. The thing to remember, though, is the more water I add, the more it takes away from the flavor. So I'm going to keep chopping here. So speaking of full disclosure, the folks that I live with right now, they're not here. They're out having lunch at a restaurant with some friends. And you know what? It is just nice to have the place to myself. You know, the kitchen, it's kind of a main room in the house. And so I'm always like reminding them about cooking with Gina. It's in 2 hours, 1 hour, half an hour, you know, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. And they don't understand why I can't just do cooking with Gina with them in the background. And I just find it hard to be my authentic self. And I told them nicely, like, you know, if I was going to work, like if I was getting paid money to do cooking with Gina, and this was like a job, even when I was teaching, well, they would never come and hang out in the background, right? So anyways, they didn't understand that perspective. And yeah, it just feels good to cook. It feels good to connect with you. It feels good to tell you stuff like, you know, ETs are eating the Homo sapiens sapiens. Like, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of hype in the States. It seems like there always is. So I'm wondering, like, what about the Canadians, you know? Michael Hall, he was a lawyer. And he recently passed away. And, you know, I heard, I'm bad with names. So when I heard Michael Hall passed away, I didn't even know who that was. And then I belong to a meetup group. Brian Rue runs it. It's called Preparing for Alien Contact. And then we changed the name to Preparing for ET Contact because the word alien is like offensive. You know, what does it really mean? And anyways, there was a special little write-up about Michael Hall, and just remembering of him being in the meetup group. He came as a guest, and I thoroughly enjoyed everything that he had to say. I really enjoyed his personality. But the connection was that he was a lawyer that basically specialized in people who had their lives on the line, so that if they were to share information about full disclosure, that they wouldn't have to worry. And you'd have to, join the group to find it, or Brian posts things on BitChute, because often it doesn't get played on regular YouTube. But he mentioned, Michael Hall, that he would, part of the legal paperwork, I guess, and protection was publishing certain things at certain times. That way it would protect people, because information would have already been shared or whatever, that would keep them clean. I didn't really understand it. And I also really like watching a lot of Caroline Corey and her videos that she does, Black Knight Satellite, and just working with Billy Carson. And she's the one who makes it all happen. And I mentioned that in the episode with Michael Hall, and it was exciting because he knew who she was. And so I just like it. Like, I love it, actually. And I feel like for the first time in my life, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in my thinking. Folks who are out for lunch left their cell phone here. It's just ringing in the background. I don't know if you can hear that. But, it just, like, wow, like, I wish people like that were around when I was a kid. I mean, they were around, but I wasn't aware of them. We didn't have the internet. Folks like Ray Hernandez, he was just a regular guy. He didn't have a spiritual background. He had a spiritual experience. His dog was saved by an angel, if you will, that the dog was really sick and basically ready to die. And he experienced a spiritual experience, and literally the dog was running around like it was, like, full of life again. And so it's just like, wow, these stories are really interesting to me. And for what it's worth, I don't think there's anything that anybody can really say to me that isn't bizarre these days. I think the only thing that's bizarre is that we keep hiding the truth, and why, and I hope that this video doesn't get taken down because I'm talking about such things. And again, there's always a lot of hype in the States that I'm wondering, like, where's the hype here in Canada? And I'm interested in Canada. I know, like, throughout my experience watching Gaia, I used to pay, I think it was like $40 a month for the subscription. And I got a lot of really great insight, and some Canadians are on there, but I'm just not in tune with them. I don't know why. So I'm hoping to get more in tune with folks, specifically in Canada. And it just seems, though, however, that I keep getting called to the United States, not just anywhere in the States, but basically the United States that is close to Canada, that in-between area between the countries. So I think that's powerful. And I'm just wondering, like, what do you think about all that? And what stories do you have to share? What stories are you holding back on? What stories are real stories, non-fictional? And what stories are fictional? And I have to use a strategy in this moment. So as a public school teacher, I always confuse fiction and nonfiction. So the word fiction and the word fake start with the letter F. So those fictional stories are fake stories. Non-fictional means non-fake stories. So anyways, I hope I communicated that correctly. What do you think? I'd really like to know. I'm just going to finish chopping up these potatoes here. So there's a lot of potatoes here. It's taking me some time to chop it. So I thought I would just chime in again. And I was wondering, where do you folks go to connect with Soul Tribe? Maybe you don't have a Soul Tribe. So I'd lovingly invite you to perceive Cooking with Gina as Soul Tribe, hanging out with me, cooking, watching me, trying my recipes. Like I said, I watched a lot of Gaia. They didn't have opportunity. I mean, you could comment in the comments, but they didn't have like a host connecting viewers together. I would really like to go to all kinds of conferences to see speakers in person and also just to listen. I mean, people have been telling me things my whole life. So I think if I went to a conference like Gaia or some full disclosure conference, like who's going to come and approach me? I feel like if I just do what I do, sit there minding my own business, people come and tell me stuff. So is that you? Will you come and tell me stuff? People tell me the most bizarre things and at like the most random times too. And anyway, so I'm looking forward to all of that ahead. There's another show I really like to watch. Robert Calley hosts it. It's called Typical Skeptic. And recently, I got rid of all my stuff, as you know. And if you didn't know, well, now you do. I needed a hoodie. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to buy one of those hoodies. So I'm expecting it in the mail any day now. And I can't wait for it to come in. Just to show my support to Rob, to Typical Skeptic, all the viewers who are watching, all the guests that he has. And I'm telling you, like, stories are medicine, and I get a lot of medicine watching Typical Skeptic. And I actually tried to do my own show called PMHI Passions. So before I changed the name to Present Moment Alchemy, I was calling my business Present Moment Hypnotherapy, PMHI. So, Present Moment Hypnotherapy International. And by international, I meant like galactic, universal, everywhere. But anyways, PMHI Passions. And it was intended because the clients that I served, I offered more than 50 free sessions. The intention was, for me to practice and refine my skills and technique, but it was also to get a testimonial. And it was like pulling teeth trying to get a testimonial because essentially those experiences were that special. They didn't want to just share their stories, and they were also afraid to be judged. They didn't want anybody to know that they were seeing a therapist of any kind, let alone a hypnotherapist. So I understand and appreciate that. I received a lot of heartfelt messages and whatnot. So if you wanted to listen to those testimonials, you can find them in the featured section of Present Moment Alchemy. So I really enjoyed that. Some people I really bent over backwards for, and they just wrote like a few words. And then there's other people that I barely did anything, and they wrote pages and pages. And I think that's typical, even in the teaching world. Like, you really reach out to those hard to reach families, and they appreciate it. They just don't express it, like you might think they would. And so the testimonials, some of them are lengthy, some of them are very short, and it's just really enjoyable for me to read those over. But the point is that I wanted to make is I really appreciate folks like Brian Rue hosting Preparing for ET Contact, folks like Robert Calley hosting Typical Skeptic, folks like Regina Meredith and George Norrie, David Wilcock interviewing people and their stories, because I've come to learn that, I had a phenomenal career as a teacher and facilitating, but that's not my calling. My calling is not to be in the spotlight. My calling is to be in the background listening to stories. So anyways, my soup here, it's packed mostly with potatoes, which is a good thing because the potatoes will flavor the water nicely. I'm going to add some corn in here, but I'm not going to actually add the corn until later because all these other vegetables are really hard. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, I'm going to crack open this can of tomato paste and add water. And I also need to turn the stove on, and I'm looking forward to experimenting with the Bisquick. So thank you, Brian and Robert and Regina and George and everyone else for facilitating stories, because I have greatly benefited from this medicine. We're a story species and we need to hear stories, and it's never about the plot. It's always about the greater themes, but it's the plot that gets us to those themes. So I feel really thankful. It's helped me know my place, if you will, and so have the past versions of myself, like age 7 Gina, and just excited to publish my book and get together with folks and read from it, and you know, there's a lot of people that I've shared with that, you know, I'm publishing a book and it's my 5th one, and they're like, what, your 5th book? And a lot of times they'll say, I should write a book, I should publish my thoughts. And it's like, do it. Amazon.ca, and what you need to do is Google KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. I know it was confusing for me too, but KDP is where you need to go, and there's lots of YouTube videos about how to do that. And yes, once I get my shit together a bit more, I'm going to make a video about how I went about publishing things, but right now I'm just enjoying making videos with Cooking with Gina. So I just spent like a good 15 minutes looking for the can opener, and I was feeling frustrated. You know, sometimes you just want to do something, but you can't find it. And just a reality of being in somebody else's kitchen. And I'm wondering if you can relate. So I'm adding the tomato paste. And I'm going to fill up this can and just dump the water in. Just give it like a little stir. That's the thing with tomato paste, you know. I was out shopping with somebody and they found tomato paste that came in like a toothpaste kind of tube, and I thought, that's a good idea. Then you don't have to go through these motions here. So I'm gonna keep adding water. Get the last little bit of this tomato paste. And I'm going to take this whole pot to the sink and fill it right up with water. I almost forgot about my tea, and it's at the perfect temperature again. I filled my soup up with water, so now I'm going to get a lid, I'm going to boil it, and then I'm going to keep it on probably medium high. I'm still getting used to this stove. And I'm also going to turn my oven on because according to Bisquick, you know, you can pan fry things like pancakes and whatnot. You can have a Eggo waffle maker, but there's a recipe on here, basically just how to make biscuits. And it says to add milk. I'm not going to add milk. I'm going to add the cream of corn instead. And I think it said 450. Where did I read that? I don't know where I read it. Maybe I wanted to read 450. Here it is. 450. And it says to bake for about 11 to 12 minutes. So I wonder if I put it in like a banana bread container if that will be sufficient or if it'll be like a texture like muffin cupcake texture, figure it out. I like to clean as I go. I just finished dealing with the garburator stuff, just wiping down my area here. I learned at a young age, I really don't like when the mess piles up, because then by the time you're done eating, it's just such a chore to clean up. And I always find the kitchen when it's clean, it's just so motivating to be in. And anyway, so here's my soup. Oh, and I'm gonna get a lid. So I couldn't find the matching lid for this, whatever. I don't have the patience to hunt for it anymore. I'm sure it's around here somewhere. So I just got it here on top, and it works out because I like to see inside. In case you're wondering, I didn't add any salt or pepper to this because I know later on I'm going to add salt. I find if I add salt now, yeah, it's helpful, but I just end up adding a lot more salt than I probably need to. So anyways, that's my ways of knowing. How about you? At what point do you add salt and pepper to your broth? Love to know about it in the comments. So I didn't think, but I should have chopped up that other onion, this piece here. Oh well, I'm just going to do that now. And things are taking a bit longer today. The video is a bit longer, but it's all going to come together. So I chopped up these white onions, and I've never done this before. I mean, I've chopped up onions before, but I've never mixed it with Bisquick or have any Bisquick experience other than, breading things and making pancakes. White onions are good. They're mild. And part of me just kind of wants to make onion rings or something with Bisquick. Maybe next time. Okay, so I got my soup on high, and the oven, I just put it on 450. So I'm going to add the Green Giant cream style corn to my onion mixture here. And I've also got no name red kidney beans. When it comes to cans, I like to have some. And so the cans that beans come in typically work for me. This cream of corn, I like the width of it, but it's not tall enough. But I think I'm going to probably keep this one too. What do you do with your cans? So I'm going to dump my cream of corn right into my onion mixture here. Just going to get a spoon. The red kidney beans, any beans that come from a can, you need to mix them with water. Just give them a rinse-a-roo. So I'm going to do that right now. My dad or my CO John made this, so I'm just going to use it to stir the soup. It doesn't need to be stirred right now, but just before it boils, I want to make sure that it's all mixed up, that nothing's like stuck on the bottom. So these kidney beans, I'm gonna like cut them really sloppy, just cut them just to make them smaller. And I also I'm gonna add some salt and pepper to this. If I miss a kidney bean and it doesn't get cut, oh well. And if you're wondering about the peanut butter and the sugar, I was planning on making that today as a dessert, but I feel like this is already kind of taking long enough. Not that the peanut butter dessert takes long to make, but I'll just save that for tomorrow or whatever. It's super easy to do. And I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to add this to my bowl. and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm gonna add some garlic powder, and I've also got some salt and pepper here. How much am I adding? I don't know, this much. There's already onion in here. I'm really looking forward to those onions. The salt, when this is done cooking, I might salt it. I don't know. I want to add some salt in now. I want to add pepper now. I think I want to add a lot of pepper. And part of me wants to add shredded cheese. But I don't know. Maybe I'll add a little bit of shredded cheese. So I just spent a good like 15 minutes trying to find banana trays and cookie sheets and whatnot, and most of that is in the stove. So while I'm heating the stove, there's stuff in there that's in there. So now I'm, just have to put the frustrations to the side and take care of this. I don't know about you, but I don't think anything should be in the stove, even if it means storing it there, because then you end up in situations like this. And I don't know, what's your philosophy? This isn't my house, and so I'm trying to work with somebody else's ways of knowing, and I'm wondering how you can relate. And it's also purple inside and beeping at me because the door's open. Okay, so as a strategy, this pan that was really hot, I just rinsed it in cold water. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to put half of it without cheese, and then I'm going to add some cheese to it. The cheese, vegan cheese that I've been experimenting with, I find that just reduce my heat here. I find that it has like a cheese whiz texture, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, I don't want a cheese whiz texture in my Bisquick creation. So my soup here, it's rapidly boiling. Thankfully, it's not spilling over. I reduced it to 6.5. I feel like that's still kind of too high. I'm going to bring it down to 4 and see what happens. On the foamy side from the tomato paste. Okay, so cooking with Gina brings me a lot of joy, and I'm gonna just mix this here. And I'm just thinking, like, if I wasn't going to add Bisquick, what else could I do with this? What would you do with this? Just fry it on the side or something like that? I'm interested to know. And I want to taste it just as it is. It's really good. And randomly, I'm just going to scrap the cheese idea. So this was really good, actually. The onions in there are a real nice touch. I'm going to sneak another bite. Here's your bite. Big bite. Okay, so I'm going to add Bisquick to this. This is Betty Crocker name brand. Not being endorsed by any of these companies. I don't know if I mentioned it, but the salt and pepper, that was Kirkland brand. I'm just going to fold this in. And the intention that I'm holding right now is that this is going to create some kind of like muffin batter, so to speak. Something that I could just bake and slice into squares. Just kind of judging things, eyeballing things. I feel like I need to add more Bisquick. And I need to also reduce even more my soup. So it's on 2 now. So how much more am I adding? Not much. So I feel like the muffin type formation is coming together. It feels thick. I don't want it to be like glue, but I feel like it's holding its form. I don't know. Do you think I should add more Bisquick? Maybe just a little bit more. And I think this would be a good experiment just to drop into like oil and by the spoonful, like you do with like zucchini or something like that, shredded. So I'm going to just grease my pan here and put it in. So I'm going to use some canola oil. I don't bake very often, but when I do, I actually like to use butter and I just like really cake it on. In this situation, I'm just going to use canola oil, lather it all up nicely, make sure I get the sides. So let me know in the comments how you deal with baking dishes, making them non-stick. And in the past with olive oil, I'll take it just like this and put it on my hands, which is nice. I've never done it with canola oil before. And it's also, you know, kind of conflicting because I'm going to be washing my hands too, right? So I'll be right back. Oh, I can't pause you. My fingers. Okay, so my one finger is not so oily. This pan is probably too big. That's okay. Seems to be holding its form, so even if I make half a pan, that's okay. I wanted to initially use one of those like banana, I call them banana muffins, banana bread pans because, but I didn't because I just thought it might be too deep. Okay, so I'm like really excited about this. My oven is at 425. I set it for 450, so I'm just going to, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe stir my soup here. And I haven't washed my hands yet, and it feels really good with the canola oil on it. My soup, it's a beautiful color. Seems to have calmed down a little bit now. I think I mentioned this before, but years ago I would, you know, boil away basically my whole soup because I didn't put a lid on it. And soup's always better the next day. It's always nice to have it fresh, but it's always better the next day because the flavors just, you know, kind of marry more. All right. So I was just thinking, you know what? I'm going to chop up some of these olives and I'm going to put it on top of this stuff here. And I'm also just going to enjoy this for what it is. Mmm. It's not as good with the Bisquick on it. It was better without. So I hope it's like that when it's done baking, it'll still taste good. So I just love when the subconscious mind forages. And that's what my subconscious mind is doing. I knew I took these olives out for a reason. I didn't really know why. I thought maybe they would just be nice as a side dish. But nope, they're intended to be chopped up. One of them is intended to be eaten right now, 2 of them. So I'm just going to chop it up. And maybe I'll just put it on half. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that cheese back out and I'm going to sprinkle some just on this one side here. So I'm getting excited. How about you? Okay, so I've got the cheese back out. It's by Nourish. It's vegan. Again, I'm not being endorsed by these companies. If these companies would like to endorse me, that would be appreciated. There's actually a link that I created. It's in the description. If you wanted to give me your money, your nice cold cash dollars, you can now do that, and it'll go directly into my bank account. It's through Stripe. And you just give me whatever you want. I put $100 there as a suggestion, but if you wanted to give me your money, it would help me buy vegan ingredients. I could go to vegan restaurants and take my little video with me. I could do things like buy cheese and experiment. I'm really excited, you know. So anyways, this is what I have. The cheese typically would be mixed in there, but it's not. It's just on top. And I'm going to empty the dishwasher while I have time. I'm just doing some prep here for later. So I got my can of corn here, and it's Green Giant brand, and it's called Niblets. Whole kernel corn, Canada fancy. And I prefer peaches and cream corn, but whatever, this is what's provided at this time. So I just emptied the dishwasher, and now I'm just getting together some water. So I just filling up this jar here, and I'm adding 1 tea bag to it. It's just tap water. I didn't boil it, and it's Celestial Seasoning name brand, and this is their True Blueberry. I've had it before. I really enjoy it, and I'm also going to make myself another cup of the chamomile. That was really nice, and I'm going to add some of that almond milk to it. I'm finding that when it comes to the vegan dairy products, the milk anyways, I find I use a lot more than I typically would. And I'm wondering about you. Do you find you're using more milk? Do you like the almond or the cashew better? What do you like? Let me know in the comments. So I'm just waiting for the oven to reach 450. It's at 425. And the blueberry tea bag is taking effect. It looks all trippy looking. And maybe I will make that peanut butter fudge since I have time. So I've got some sugar crisp here, and I looked at the ingredients. I'm going to use this. If I wanted to use nuts or something, I could. But I kind of feel like that Rice Krispie chocolate. Some folks and I were having a conversation about different kinds of chocolate the other day, and we started talking about how at Easter time there's the crispy chocolate that comes out, and I really like that. Haven't had sugar crisp in a long time. So Usually you would just do this right in the peanut butter jar, but I couldn't find a spatula that was skinny enough to get in there. So all I'm doing is adding icing sugar. How much? I don't know. That much. I know I need a lot. This isn't healthy, by the way. But I just keep adding until it gets to like a cookie dough texture. And typically I would take something like flour or, the sugars, and I would put it through a strainer. I just haven't baked in a while, so I didn't even think about it until I was pouring it out. So as you can see, I just work with it. I also found some quick syrup, which also is vegan. And quick syrup is a nice go-to. There was some powdered carnation milk, but there's animal product in there. And also in the past, I've used, I forget what it's called offhand, but it's basically just good old chocolate cocoa that people make homemade chocolate desserts out of. And so what I would typically do is I would take that, the cocoa, melt it with butter, add some peanut butter in there to give it some texture, and then that would create my chocolate sauce. So I'm just going to keep working away at this, and I'll be right back. So I added a little bit more whatever this is called, icing sugar. And whatever chemistry is behind it, it doesn't work the same with regular sugar. It has to be icing sugar. And essentially, it makes fudge brownies. Or if you've ever made peanut butter balls before, this is basically how you do it. So I'm just going to keep playing with it, and I'll be right back. Oh, and my soup, it's coming along. I haven't taste tested it yet. I turned the temperature back up to 4, and my oven, I made sure I set it to 450, and I did. So I'm just going to wait for that to be ready. And I'm getting hungry now. How about you? And it's hard not snacking. So I just wanted to show you that if you wanted to leave it like this, you could, but I want to mix with it more so the icing sugar is like all absorbed. So my hand is getting sore actually, so I'm just going to accept the present moment and where this is at. This is a pretty hardcore spatula. When it comes to nuts or whatever you're adding, sugar crisp, you just want to add a thin layer. And then when you put the peanut butter in, it'll squash down. And just to show you, you see it's like a cookie dough texture. I know I put canola oil on my hands earlier, but that's not why it's sticking. It's a bit easier to work the dough, or the peanut butter, if you will, the fudge. And you literally just plop it in there. Like I said, this is almost too easy. So I got 2 nice big blobs in there. And this is really great if you're camping and you just have like leftovers that you're going through. It's really nice to have ingredients on hand like icing sugar. So I'm just literally spreading it. I'm just noticing a really good opportunity for me to sneak this here. There's your bite. Mmm. Okay. It tastes really good. like really good. And I'll be right back. Okay, so I've washed my hands and I licked the spoon that had the peanut butter on it. It was really good. And now I just want to take a moment and make sure that this peanut butter here is nice and squashed into the sugar crisps at the bottom. And I can, yeah, I don't know why, but I always put the nuts and whatnot at the bottom, that maybe I should start putting it on top. So I'm going to put this in the fridge. You could also put it in the freezer. I'm going to put it in the freezer just to speed up the process. And then all you do, if you have your, chocolate on the side, like I said, you can make it with just your regular cocoa powder, add some butter to it. If you wanted to add peanut butter, you could. If you had chocolate chips, you could do that. And you just pour it on. If you want to make a fancy design, you can. I think I'm just going to leave it like that. And I'm going to cover this up, put it in the freezer. Oh, and just while I'm thinking about it, I don't know about you, but I tend to collect little plastic containers. And then it's really nice to do stuff like this and then just keep it in the freezer. And then in the summertime, it's like homemade ice cream, so to speak. The quick syrup, it freezes well. But the peanut butter, it tends to melt fast, but it's not something that lasts long anyways when you're eating it. So it works out. So the oven is still not at 450. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know, but I'm going to put my Bisquick creation inside anyways. So this oven is new. There's probably just maybe something I had to like press that I didn't press. I don't know. But this is going in there. And fingers crossed. I think I mentioned it. If you wanted to eat this now like it is, you can. It just won't hold its form. That's the only real difference. And once it's frozen, it's great just to break up. It makes its own little mosaic shapes, if you will, and it's great just to snack on like that. And I've also just blended it up in the morning, kind of like a peanut butter smoothie, if you will. And I'm wondering about you, if you've ever made anything like this, or if maybe you'll try this. While I put that in the freezer, I found some honeycomb. I had to fight with it a little bit, and it's frozen. But it is good. It's like old school candy, you know, that beeswax. So just snacking on this, waiting for my meal. Taking a bit longer today, but I know it's going to be worth it. And have you ever tried fresh honeycomb like this? Let me know in the comments. Really good. I'm just having more fresh beeswax. It's frozen, but it like frosts pretty quickly in your mouth. Just think about bears and their big paws getting into beehives. Hardcore vegans, they don't eat honey. You know, I read an interesting book about bees. And if I had a better memory recall, I'll tell you exactly what it was called and who wrote it. But they're making a point about how important bees are, but then they were talking about contradictions. And something like cashews and almonds were really highlighted in this story, that they needed so many bees just to get the almonds to produce almonds, that in itself was controversial. So it's like, where do you draw the line? How can we do better? My intention is not to get into animal right conversations, just focusing on the sustainability piece and how can we better manage things like collecting honey in ways where we're not just like smoking out the bees, and the importance of the queen, and so many pesticides. The bees, they can't even find their way home because they're overwhelmed by the sense of the pesticide. And I've never had this frozen before, and usually when I eat it, there's like the waxy beeswax, that comes out. But I find frozen, I'm just kind of eating it with it. How about you? Do you just eat the beeswax? Let me know. I'm still getting used to this oven. I turned the soup back up to 6. It's been a while now. The potatoes should have been, I know I was a little slower moving today, but the potatoes, they should have been cooked. They are getting there, but I turned up the heat, and my oven is still at 425. It didn't reach the 450 mark, but it looks like it is cooking. So I'm persevering here in the kitchen, and I know it'll still turn out really good. So just checking in on my soup, and I pulled out a little potato. It's getting there. So that's good. And my Bisquick creation, the oven light went off, but it looks like it's coming around. And so I want to turn it around here with you. Whenever I'm baking anything, I always like to turn it, and whatever's on the top, I put on the bottom. Whoa, it is steamy hot in there. It looks like the bottom is possibly starting to burn. I don't know. I'm gonna poke it with a fork. It's really psychedelic looking in there. Okay, so I got a knife, and it looks like it's cooked. Oh, it could use just a little bit more. So I'm gonna put it back in, and it smells really great. I can smell the olives. I don't know, is this rotated? I don't remember now. But I bet because it's not at 450 that it's probably cooking burning, and some parts aren't cooked in the middle. But whatever, I was still able to accomplish some kind of biscuit, and I'm really looking forward to it. Since the potatoes are almost ready, I'm going to add in that can of corn, and I'm going to bring it right up to a boil. Just to make sure that this corn is cooked. Oh yeah, it's a beautiful color. And I swear, I like my soups on the thin side, but as you can see, a little really goes a long way. There was a lot of potatoes in there. So basically, once this boils, it should be ready. It's kind of dependent on the potatoes, and I'm really getting hungry now. So I'm taking this out, and if it's still not 100% completely cooked, I have faith, at least the part that it was at, because even though I've taken it out of the oven, it's still cooking, right? So I feel very confident that whatever little gooiness was on the side there, it's fine. It's fine. It'll be okay. And I'm going to check on my peanut butter creation. And I was thinking too, like, yeah, like why do I put the nuts and whatever at the bottom? I think because when I think about like those little fancy square desserts, that's how things are presented. But I think maybe next time I'll just start mixing it in with the peanut butter. Maybe I could do like a layer mixed with peanut butter and then a layer of just the peanut butter on top. Probably overthinking it. Don't really care. Just really care that it's tasty. How about you? So the peanut butter, I mean, it was ready when it went in there. The quick syrup on top, it's thickening because it's getting colder, so that's good. My water here is now just about officially at a full boil. And I just wanted to comment on the vegan cheese. It didn't completely melt, so it won't have that cheese whiz texture to it. And I feel like that's a good thing. How about you? And I'm going to reduce this and start getting my plate together. And I might have to start eating my dessert first. And that's a reality I'm willing to face. So the potatoes still aren't cooked. So there you go. I'm going to move on though. I've got 2 pieces here. I've got these other 2 pieces that have more cheese and more olives on it. I'm going to save those for the picture that I take. And I'm just getting into these peanut butter squares. So there you have it. And if I turn it over, you can see the sugar crisp on there. Mmm. So I put the peanut butter treat back into the fridge. Something that I wanted to do was salt these. So I'm actually just going to pause it and salt the rest of the tray. Okay, so right here I've got the Bisquick. They're both the same, other than one is topped with olive and the other one is topped with cheese. Mm, that's really good. I like the saltiness of the olives, and I really like the salt on top that I just added now, the raw salt. It totally tastes like it needs to cook longer, but at the same time, I feel like it's at risk for, you know, burning. And I think that's because I couldn't get it to the right temperature, 450. So I would totally make these again. This one is with the cheese. Here's your bite. Hmm. The cheese one tastes like I can't taste the cheese per se, but it adds to the texture of it, which is nice. And then this is the quick syrup peanut butter creation. It's still not completely frozen, but I wanted a piece now. Mmm. Mm. Really good. Tastes like fudge. I'm gonna chow down on the rest of this. Hopefully my soup will be ready soon. You know, I have to say that peanut butter fudge creation, it's a little goes a long way, you know. It's very satisfying, and the texture was just satisfying. The taste was satisfying. So if you're looking for something satisfying, you definitely want to try and make that. Let me know if you do. Let me know if you mix in your nuts or sugar crisp or whatever you're using with the peanut butter, or how you layer it up. Let me know what kind of chocolate you're using. Love to hear about it. You know, as I'm chowing down here, I thought it was worth sharing. I forgot there was kidney beans in here, because there's like a potato type texture, and there's no potatoes in here, so that's probably the kidney beans. And it's really good. And my soup, it's almost ready. So finally, my soup is ready. I didn't add any salt or pepper to this, so I know it's going to need it. And the folks that I'm with, they're just coming in the door now, home from their lunch. So the universe knew. So I'm just going to add some salt. Surprisingly, I have to add a lot of salt, just because I didn't add any pepper, because I just like to add lots of salt and pepper. And even for a thin soup, it's kind of thick. Ooh, it's piping hot. And it's really good. and it's good for you. In this moment, the other veggies in here are just way too hot, but I'm gonna try and go for it. There's celery and corn. Oh, so I didn't really taste anything because it just like burnt my tongue off. But what I tasted was scrumdiddlyumptious. So thank you so much for joining me on Cooking with Gina. I hope you enjoyed today's show. It was a bit longer than usual, but the universe knew. The universe knew I needed to add olives and cheese to that dish. The universe knew I needed to make those peanut butter fudge. And I think now the universe knows that I just need to sit down and enjoy some good food. So thank you very much again for joining me with Cooking with Gina. Cooking brings me a lot of joy. It's something that's always come naturally to me. And I'd love for you to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Gina Virginia Casella. And I would also love for you to join my Facebook group, Present Moment Alchemy. Until next time, take care.